All right, so welcome to today's networking session. Today's session, we're going to be talking about provoking your chance and provoking opportunity. Because one of the previous sessions we had, it was about not making excuses, right? It was with Mark. And I wonder where Mark is because, you remember he had that thing about accountability? So I'm like, where is Mark? Where is Mark? Did he post twice every day for the entire week?
He's been posting.
All right, so I hope to get him back here very soon. And today's session is going to be on provoking the possible or provoking your chance, taking calculated risks and turning them into opportunity. So my first question for you today is, let's Annie in. Can you think of a moment in your career where you took like a big sort of like what it at least looked like a risk? And that actually changed everything for you, at least for, let's say, for the better. Can you think of yeah, Joanna is not in. I just want to say hi to Annie first. Hi, Annie. Welcome. So, Joanna, do you want to share like this moment that appeared to be risky, but it turned out to be a huge opportunity?
I've had a few, but I'll share one when I was younger. After living 2 years in the United States, I moved back to Europe in my hometown, Nice. And I was obsessed to keep working in English as I finally spoke the language. And I met with this British company that was recruiting, and I got a call 2 days later that I had the job. But if I wanted the job, I needed to move to Barcelona. And I said, I'm sorry, I came yesterday for an interview in Nice in France. Why do I need to move to Barcelona? And I was told the office is going to be closed in Nice. So it's either you get on the bus next week, we have a corporate bus leaving. If you want the job, you'll be there. And I didn't know anything about the company. I had one interview. I just had really fallen in love with the manager, which was amazing. So I kind of took a risk based on her and what I thought I would learn from her. And that has changed my entire life. From my professional experience, she told me how to sell. And that turned into becoming the best salesperson in the company with higher level of confidence, knowing I could move to another country on my own, to meeting amazing people, to actually meeting my husband over there at the time. The risk was worth it.
And meeting Sunny as well.
That's where I met Sunny, yes.
That's amazing. So no regrets whatsoever for taking that risk at that time, right?
None. And I changed country 4 times after, and none of them are any regret. They all have positive. And again, it's how you look at the experience. All of them have been difficult. It's the perspective you have on it.
Great. Thank you, Joanna. Hi, Rebecca. Welcome. So Dr. Brian, I saw you had your hand up. Please go ahead.
Sure. I tend to be, when I do a keynote or speaking event and even group or individual coaching, I'll call it edgy. So I take chances and push. And I used to work for a seminar company, and they did once or twice a year presentations to HR and training directors. So the year before, a brilliant woman came in and spoke about workplace violence prevention, but it was a very dry yet emotional. I mean, everybody was scared after the presentation about their policies and procedures. So I like to make sure you experience something or feel something. So with 200 people, if you picture somebody sitting next to you in a row at a table, I had other speakers and trainers force a chair in between you. I had other people go to another row and move your water or coffee. And this is back when cell phones were new. So it was a very thick, if some of you are old enough to remember, the TRS-80. And I talked to a gentleman sitting right in front of the stage. I said, I'm going to reach over and just grab your phone, react however you want. Well, he forgot. So I reached down and grabbed his phone from the stage, and he was built like a Marine truck. And he stood up, he was 6'4", so almost my height from the stage. And he leans forward, and I covered my microphone part of the way, but I knew everybody could hear it. I leaned forward and I said, I live in California. We were in Florida at the presentation. I said, lean forward one more inch and I'll own you, your house, your family, and your business and corporation. We have laws in California wherever I work, they're enforceable. And everybody grabbed a hush, and I took my hand off the microphone and I gave him back his phone. I said, please don't hurt me. I'm not a Marine. I said, now, if Alfredo comes to you as a supervisor, leader, or HR and says Brian is intimidating or pushy, that's the start of harassment and workplace violence complaints. So if you don't intervene there and you wait 6 months, the negativity just grows and you're giving everybody permission to do that. Well, I got 10 corporate training events out of that. So that's when I knew I can be edgy and pushy and not offend. And so now I just need to master the art of getting booked regularly and we'll be great. So thanks.
Great. So how can you describe that force, Brian, that drove you to stand up and go speak to that person?
I wanted to, not that any of the other I mean, a lot of them were my mentors and friends, the other speakers, but I thought workplace violence prevention is not the first thing a company wants to bring in and train their employees on. And this is before we could get, recorded courses, which are so dry. And I felt like if I can make people feel something visceral and then provide an immediate solution to how you deal with the issue before it becomes legal, before it becomes a big threat, then it would work. And that's what I like to do. I know now keynote addresses are not supposed to be me lecturing people or just doing a talk. The event planners and corporate heads want interaction, and that's the way I've always done my training. But then traveling around the US, and I've gotten to go to London and Australia, I learned something. I mean, you know that everybody has different cultures and procedures. I was in Bend, Oregon, and I'm doing workplace violence prevention as a public seminar. And I said, raise your hand if any of you have a weapon in your car. And 100 people raised their hands. And I thought, oh my gosh. I said, oh, I bet you're all doing that for hunting. And they said, oh, yes. And I said, okay, how many of you work for a government office? And about half the room did. And I said, in the United States, in a city, county, or state or federal office, you're not allowed to bring a weapon in your car to work. I said, because if you get ticked off, you can just run to your car and come back in the office. I said, I'm willing to bet anything that you have a policy about that. And it was a 2-day event, so I won 2 free dinners from people who
Right.
didn't think it was a policy. But I was not scared, but it was fascinating that it was just an oh yeah, we could have hunting weapons in our car and go to work. And you really, depending upon where you work, you cannot. So it
Great.
was
Thank you.
fascinating.
Thank
So
you.
trying to be unique and stand out is what I'm looking for.
Hi, Carl. Welcome. So we are sharing
Hi.
a moment in our career where we took a risk that changed everything. So can you think of a moment where you took that risk and what made you do it? If anyone would like to share. Yeah, Annie, please. Oh,
Well,
Annie and then Rebecca.
Rebecca raised her hand, so is that okay?
It's okay. Go ahead, Annie, and
Okay.
then it's going to be Rebecca.
Hi, everyone. So I have to say, I was working, this was many years ago, I was working with a business advisor who helped me a lot. But one of the things I put my foot down and said, I'm never doing relaxing massages, ever. I want to be known as the pain relief practitioner there could be, and there is, I'm in Los Angeles, so there is on Ventura Boulevard in Tarzana, every block has at least 2-3 massage places. Some of them are happy ending massage places, but it goes with the territory. But me being known as the pain practitioner, which a lot of my clients have their own massage therapists, but they come to me when they're in pain, that was the best, even though my business advisor said, Ani, you're leaving money on a table. I'm like, I don't care. I want to be known for the pain relief practitioner that you will go to, that people will drive hours to come and see me. And that was the best decision I've ever made.
Wow. When was this, Ani?
That was over 20 years ago. And
Oh,
I've been in practice for a little over 30 years.
wow.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Rebecca, please.
Yeah, what comes to mind is when I was graduated and had worked for 2 years, I was working as a social worker. And then I just realized I couldn't do that. I mean, I just realized this was not what I was going to do. So I ended up, quitting my job, and I had no plan whatsoever for what I was going to do instead. I just knew this is not it. I was coaching young people and helping them find their way in life. So it became like, obviously, it became so screaming to me that I was not doing the same to myself. So that took actually a lot of courage for me at that point in life, because good job and the education aimed for that, but it was just not right. So, and it changed everything, of course.
Was
A lot of
the feeling building up for a period of time, or was it like sudden kind of decision?
No, it was building up, and I was actually even scared to quit my job. I don't know, and tell my parents and stuff like that. It was not so easy at that point for me. It was quite hard. So it took me maybe some months to summon the courage, and then
Wow.
it was
Great.
well done at that point. It was good.
Well done. Great. Thank you, Rebecca. Carl, please.
Look, the whole concept of taking risk to me is the most fascinating of all discussions, because it has such an incredible impact on our lives. I mean, and the other thing is we're taking risk all the time. I mean, when I was a competitive athlete, you could train for 6, 7, 8 months, hours a day, and get an injury the day before, or have a bad day on the day. I mean, Olympic champions train for a year, 10 years to get there. So everything is risk, but I think that one should have a mechanism whereby it's a risk that in my heart of hearts, I'm comfortable I can make it happen. So in other words, I'm not, I mean, I used to, but I mean, there's no ways at this stage of my life I would take a risk where I'm living in fear. I'm just not going to do it. Because at some level, there's something telling me that maybe you shouldn't be doing this. Maybe you're not up to it. Whereas, so yes, I do take risks, but those are risks where somehow my instincts tell me I'm going to pull through. So and then of course, how do you know whether your instincts are telling you whether you're going to pull through or not? I mean, these are all things that are, and the other thing about it is this, it's a very complex and interesting discussion, but are you trying to tell the future to know if it's going to work, or is it just a internal intuition that's telling you whether you're making a good decision or not a good decision? So can you tell the future whether it's going to work or not? I'm not convinced you can, but can you ask your instincts or intuition whether you think you're reasonably comfortable and you think you're going to be, there's a more than a good chance you're going to win, is not predicting the future. It's a totally different discussion. So to answer your question simply, it's the most fascinating question is what risks you take, how do you take them, what mechanisms are in place to deal with them. And I can assure you that senior executives and very wealthy people have strategies on how they make that decision. I remember when I was in my early 20s, a billionaire lectured me on how he did it. And it is, yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that very, very, very successful people have a strategy. They're not taking a risk. They have, yes, it is a risk, but they have their intuition tells them they've got a more than a fair chance. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, but a fascinating
Interesting.
topic.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you. Alfredo, Sam, and then Luis, please.
Hello, you all. Well, in my case, I guess that living in Latin America makes it very risky. Professionally speaking, I've gone through coup d'etats and extreme devaluation with extreme inflation, restructurings, and so on. And I've taken quite a few of those decisions, and in different countries in reality. Working in Latin America means that always there is a country in crisis in that sense. And as Carl said, we have a methodology, and I thought that we were being very rational, but in reality, intuition plays a lot in that sense. On a personal level, moving to Ecuador was a risk. Even my current practice, I becoming a mentor and a coach was a risk in that sense. And at that time, it was basically based on intuition. And I thought I was being rational. Afterwards, I realized, no, I was just following my heart in that sense. But I guess the environment plays a lot. There is the VUCA concept that we live in a volatile world, which is uncertain, which is in constant change, complex, and ambiguous. So we need to live on a daily basis on that premise.
Thank you, Alfredo. Sam, please.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Carl was saying that you can't predict the future, but that's part of what I do is doing my tarot cards and as a psychic. But the key here is asking the right questions. And it's like, someone asks you, will I be successful? And I have to ask them, well, how do you define success? Are you asking about monetary success? Are you looking at personal satisfaction? So when you say, what are your risks? You have to ask, well, what are your measures? What are you risking, and what are your goals? What are you trying to achieve? So, assessing risk, risk of what? What are you risking? What are you risking? What are you trying for?
And Sam, can you give us an example of a time where you took what appeared to be like a risk in your career?
Oh, yeah. Well, just not too long ago when I decided to go full-time with the psychic work, previously I'd been doing it part-time and doing city planning consulting work. And the laws in Florida changed and threw a monkey wrench in that, so that there's very little happening right now in city planning. So I had to make a decision to let go of that. And that was definitely risky because the planning work was much more lucrative than anything else. But it basically dried up.
Any regrets?
No, I love doing what I'm doing. It's a lot of fun.
Cool. Wonderful. Thank you. Louis, please.
I think most of us have got this risk thing the wrong way around. I think it's more to do with not changing or trying to establish some sort of formula to live by. And unfortunately, you can't do that because things change around you. So the risk is actually not changing. It's trying to button things down rather than to be agile and move with whatever your heart tells you or whatever is happening in the world. So, there are a lot of times in my life where you could have said I was taking a big risk, but in fact, I was actually moving into a new new me or a new area of activity or expertise that's certainly no more risky than what I was doing before, and probably what I was doing before was running out of time anyway. So that to me is what risk is about, is not moving in that way.
Mm-mm. And can you share a little bit about your career, Louis? Because I know you've
Career?
had multiple lives.
What career?
Well, life in general. And you moved countries several times.
Oh
You
yeah, I've lived all over. I mean, I feel I've talked about a lot of them in my creativity talk and things, but you could say I took a risk when I got a nice little business doing graphic design. This is many years ago, and all that stuff. And then I decided to switch over to art. And okay, still doing the marketing communications and all that consultancy, which was basically hedging, and that was still making more of the money. But I suppose you could perceive that moving towards art was a risk because it's fraught. That kind of life is fraught with all sorts of uncertainty, especially when you're doing it from the heart. But with that perceived risk came all sorts of interesting opportunities. And as I mentioned to you ages ago, it actually led me into this wonderful community of artists with Christiana Kubrick, Stanley Kubrick's wife. So I ended up thinking I was taking a risk, but in fact moving forward into a really fascinating environment, to spend all my weekends at Kubrick's house while he was making things like Eyes Wide Shut and things like that was something I would never have dreamed of, So it was the movement. It was allowing myself to move into a totally different area that actually made life a heck of a lot more interesting at that time, and actually developed things in ways that I could never have thought of,
Great, thank you, Louis.
That's just one of them.
Right, I can imagine. So generally speaking, we human beings, we like certainty. We like things to be predictable. We love security. That's why many of us choose to go for salary, wages to be employed, because when you're an entrepreneur, the risks are higher. So what's the cost of playing it safe? Like for someone who goes full in and someone who plays it safe, is there like a middle ground somewhere?
Well, there is, as I just explained, there's a middle ground where you hedge your bets and you do two things at once, but that also means that you're not fully committed to one thing. So, so there's a price to pay.
But I guess it all depends on each people. There are some who are more risk takers, and some other less. But if you don't like risk, you risk stagnation and not movement, and it's basically associated with fear. What we associate fear to.
Yeah. Rebecca, please.
Yeah, in a way, I don't believe there is a middle way. There is either you do or you don't do. And I do believe that staying comfortable, it can be the biggest risk we can ever take. But of course, it depends on how you define risk. If you define risk as just doing something crazy for the sake of doing something crazy, then there might be a middle way. But if you define risk as doing the right thing, even though it feels uncomfortable at the time, like who was saying that about the intuition, I very much agree on that. Like it's risk based in something, but either you do it or you don't do it. So either you take that risk or you stay and you didn't take that risk and you don't get to receive the benefit of what would be on the other side of going all in and jumping for that risk. Either you do or you don't.
Okay. What do you guys think? Yeah.
I believe in planned spontaneity and calculated risk. So what I mean by that is I'm still very spontaneous socially, and I like doing new and different things, but I'm a big movie fan, so I'll plan out a year ahead what movies we're going to go see and what weekend so that my wife and I have date night. But on the other hand, for business, I've taken a couple of risks that were very costly. So now I know how to not do that. And now I want to launch full-time speaking and coaching. And everybody tells me, oh, there's a huge learning curve. And I get it. But I'm turning 65 July 7th, so I'm not waiting. I'm doing everything I can for visibility and getting help from people to push content out there to get paid coaching and speaking. And I'll tell you, one risk is I never understood the concept of everybody was telling me, oh, you got to raise your coaching fees. You got to raise your coaching fees. And I'm like, I'd rather have 100 people at $100 for 2 or 3 sessions than 0 people at 2,500. Well, I met somebody in a networking group last week, and she does speaking and training, and it's a dress for success. And she travels the world, and she's near an area where I grew up in Los Angeles, West Hollywood. And she looked at my coaching page, and she looked right at me on Zoom and said, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "Well, I can get my wife here and you could spend 2 days on that, but what are you referring to?" And she said, "I'd rather you have 0 clients, but then you get one, and your minimum coaching fee has to be your monthly expenses. And if it's not that, you're wasting your time. Because if you get half of your monthly expenses and you only get 1 client, it doesn't do you any good other than hopefully they'll refer you to a bunch of people." So I spent the weekend revamping everything. And to me, that's a risk, but I'm going to go for it. I can't be any worse off than I am right now. And I'll leave it at that. I don't want to monopolize the conversation. So.
Well, that's a good point because it's leading us to the next. Louis, please. Yeah. Go ahead.
This is interesting, isn't it? I think it's a lot to do with when are you in your own power? What are you satisfied with? What kind of life do you want to lead? I mean, I could point to several risks that I took where I felt I succeeded, and other people may say that I didn't. Maybe it failed monetarily, maybe it failed in another way, technically or something, or maybe it succeeded in other ways. But all the way, it's part of my journey, part of my life. And I think you can take any of those experiences, whether you may think that other people will think that you failed or all that kind of nonsense. And you can build on those for yourself, and you can recognize them for what they were. And I think that is the most valuable part of this. So in a sense, there are no risks unless you're sort of throwing yourself out of a car at 120 miles an hour, or something like that, which is just stupid. But in terms of trying new things, because you feel a commitment or some sort of passion or some sort of, I hate using that word, but some sort of you're driven to do something. I think there's always something positive that can come out of it if you choose to see it that way.
Yeah, well, when you're coaching and consulting or you're running any business, I mean, the truth is numbers don't lie. So right now my numbers are at 0. So I'm looking for part-time training work. I don't want to go back into substance abuse work and work for somebody else for, $25 an hour. But if I have to pay the bills to do that till things take off, but at least I know it's not instinct. I have a book coming out in October. I sent associations chapter 1, and I have a paid speaking engagement in October and one in November. So I know some people are interested. I just need to get more people interested. And so I agree that you can be passionate, Louis, but passion gets you so far. And, I'm excited by what I'm doing. I would never present with, well, I want you all to come to my talk and it's really exciting. But you also have to know that what you're offering is, I'll say, relevant or needed. So.
And you
Thank
also
Other people want to participate.
there's a hand up from Sam. Paula, do you want to say something very briefly?
Yeah, I wanted to say, as an entrepreneur, especially you're a new entrepreneur and you're starting a business, having an expectation of growing the business progressively and your market and the interest. And if you're patient in that, you may not get the type of clients that you would like out of the gate, but you'll start to build them. Having other contracts on the side or doing business on the side while you're building your business, that is a normal process in entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is a risk all by itself. And you don't go into it thinking, oh, everything's going to work, because it's not. You're going to go down different streets, things are going to hit, some are not, so be patient with the process, but be strategic with what your needs are. The person telling you to double your fees, that's a good thing. However, if you don't have the confidence and the belief in that you can deliver that value, or that value is for this season in your business and the type of clients you're going after, you may want to consider redesigning your offers, not based on what people tell you, but based on what you really can deliver and what you feel comfortable doing at this stage, being a new business at 65.
Yeah, no, I know I can deliver it. And now at least I'm going to do this, which is it's easier to talk to somebody and mention the fee and go down than mention the fee and go up. So we'll see what happens. But I appreciate your insights. That was brilliant.
This is a fascinating question, and I've been taking risks my whole life. And I think that the conversation is really relevant to talk about a couple of different angles we haven't covered yet. And I've been self-employed since 1989. I left my first career to start my own business. And I've had multiple businesses. Some of them have cratered, and they're still smoldering ruins where I was. And some of them have been huge successes. I went into corporate for a few years. I came back out of corporate, started again at 60, Brian, so I understand where you're at. I just got back from a 700-mile motorcycle tour with my best friend. And I liken my journey to my entrepreneurship to that ride. It's motorcycle meditation is a real thing. It's very relaxing. It's very comforting on one hand, but you're always on guard. Any rock in the road, any animal, cars. We were out in Eastern Oregon. It was just beautiful, winding roads, beautiful scenery. You just get sucked in. And then one day we left our town that we stayed the night in, and the winds were atrocious, where you're just leaning like this. And every time you hit a rock on the side of the road, a break in the wind, you snap up. And I was scared to death. And that's exactly what entrepreneurship can be like. And you're taking the risk by being on two wheels, and you're getting the joy out of all the benefits. But then occasionally those 1,000-acre wheat fields appear and the winds blow you all over the damn road, and you don't sure you're even in control anymore. And you're just asking your angels to kind of get you through. And it was all day long. But I slept really well. It was really adrenaline rushed. It was exciting. And I couldn't wait to get on the motorcycle the next day. And the second part of my comment in observing and listening to everybody is I think sometimes we don't think about the perception we think others think when we're taking our risk. And that prevents us from moving forward or holds us stuck in where we are because we're afraid other people may think something of us that we should or should not do this thing. And that's why I'm a big believer in coaching. The world needs more coaches. And surrounding yourself with people where you can actually have a neutral outside party provide you the feedback you need and get to whether you're willing to move forward based on your own desires and passions, as Lewis stated, and whether it's worthy of the risk, or if you're not doing it because of what you're afraid others may think of it. So I could go on, but that's really a good topic today.
Wonderful. Thank you, Scott. Sam, please.
Well, in metaphysical circles, they have a lot about trusting the process and being in alignment with what you're trying to do, and following things spiritually. And in many cases, when you do that, you basically are ignoring risk and saying, all right, no, this is really what I really want to do, and I'm doing it for the right reasons. And when you do that, when you really commit yourself, what sometimes happens is that coincidences and doors will just start opening for you. And I've seen this happen. I've had it happen for me, so that the risk suddenly becomes either decreased or non-existent. And it can happen in some very unexpected ways.
Interesting. Thank you, Sam. Alfredo, please, and then Hemant.
I will say that entrepreneurs are the risk takers by nature. In one extreme, they are constantly challenging the status quo, the way we think, the way we see things. But that's not the majority. The majority move, in a sense, how do I say this? We tend to associate resilience with the ability to recover. But in reality, it goes hand in hand with risk taking. And I've seen this on a daily basis in a few countries of Latin America, where by need, people need to be resilient. People need to be risk takers, otherwise they won't survive, because things change so quickly that you need to adapt. And it also goes hand in hand. I think that if you live in an environment which is stable, there are less risk takers, unless they are entrepreneurs. But in some other countries, it needs to be a fact, a way of life. Otherwise, you won't survive.
Good point. Thank you, Alfredo. Hemant, and then we'll go into breakout rooms.
No, I was just thinking about the question all this while, and I mean, wonderful insights from everyone. But when I think about my journey, I'm 53. I'm still young, but I still have I started working pretty young. Okay, and while I was thinking, it just occurred to me that actually I haven't taken many risks. And I don't know why, but I feel that it's, I've played it way too safe. When I look at it now, because I never thought about it this way, the question that you posed. And now I can recognize the feeling that I have all the time is that, I haven't taken too many risks. Yeah. I mean, whatever decisions taken and all, but they were not real risks. So maybe I should take some more risks.
But Hemant, you leaving your country, your job, your company, coming to France, wasn't a risk for you? Like, this isn't a risk?
No, actually, it's not. It's not a risk. It's a decision. And I would like to, I don't know who said it, because I can't remember who said what, but someone said it, and it actually kind of resonated with me that there's a little difference, okay, between the risk and the decision. So, for example, yeah, okay, I've had 4 companies, I've sold one, the other one is still going on, it's doing pretty well. I mean, everything is there, yes, and I still keep thinking about. But when I look back, no, I mean, moving another country, I should have done it when I was 25. That's how I think. I mean, and honestly, I should have really done that, because I would have loved the wine, I would have loved the women, I would have loved the beer, I would have loved everything about it. But I came when I was 47, and I could hardly enjoy the wine, and I of course couldn't think about women. So yeah, I mean, it's a regret that I moved here when I was 47. I should have moved. And like that, actually, now that you're talking about it, Safaa, there are so many things I should have done, and I regret that I didn't take many risks. I should have taken a lot more, because I know that I'm capable of a lot more. I played it safe.
Hemant, you want to come out and ride the motorcycle with me?
There you go. Speaking about taking a risk, but Hemant, congratulations on being very honest with yourself. Really. So for many of us, we kind of like sugar-coated. But yeah, good. Linto, and then breakout room.
Yeah. So I think entrepreneurship is always there will be always risk, but there are ways to de-risk. For me, when I was having the career in HR and I changed my job to the consulting, at one point I realized that I cannot grow from to a certain level while working in this company. Then I am forced myself to resign. And then the next question was like, what need to do next? So it's like obviously I need to do the consulting business. That's the only way I had. And that time I was aware about what are the pillars of business and how to take challenges and de-risk and execute things. So that knowledge helped me to survive and build my business. So I think expertise also is a platform for to get this guidance to de-risk the challenges that may face in entrepreneurial journey or personal lives. So the knowledge part, the experience part, we have people who's having that experience and taking that knowledge, getting access to that knowledge is the important thing to de-risk, I believe. So I think there is always a middle ground to plan and execute things.
Interesting. Thank you, Linto. All right, so I want this breakout room to be practical. So my question to you is, where are you playing small today? I want you to identify that area in your career, in your business, where you believe you could do more, but you actually are not. So we'll have 10 minutes to discuss this and then we'll debrief after that. And I want you guys to be as practical and concrete as possible when you get back. Okay. And even if you're doing fantastic in your career and business, yeah, there's part of you that's still playing small that could be expanded. All right, let's do that. So, what came up for you? Can you share?
Fulfill your vision by taking action. The risk, there may or may not be risk depending upon your situation, but keep moving forward. And then I'll let Lewis explain the rest because he had good ideas.
Thanks a lot. God, you don't remember. My memory is really terrible. But I mean, a lot of it was around fear. You know, that being practical and rational about everything you do is a natural way to stay small, because it's all sort of revolving around fear rather than having a big vision and being committed to it and both, especially emotionally, and really going for it. So we all, I guess, stay small by justifying everything we're doing because it's not actually taking us to a higher place. It's just saying, oh, this is going to keep me safe. And we think it is, but it doesn't necessarily. So we've got a kind of faulty mechanism going there most of the time, I think.
Yeah, but were you able to identify an area where you're actually playing small, like a specific area in your business?
Well, we decided it was pretty complex, because I mean the fear thing was really the main thing we talked about. But I mean, obviously, often you cannot identify, you can't rationalize a risk necessarily. So, and I suppose that again is a fear thing. You play small every time you can't rationalize the risk. I think that's about it, isn't it? Alfredo, can you help me out here?
Yeah, but then we talk about that. Okay, if fear intervenes, but in reality, dreaming is free. Then why don't dream big in that sense? Because if you dream small, you will be limiting yourself, and the universe will not align towards your fulfillment of that dream. in that sense. But it's very difficult to measure the opportunity cost of not doing something. And then we also jump into fear again. It's the way we handle fear.
Mm.
Yeah, what's the fear, right? Hemant, that's the name of your podcast. What's the fear? There you go.
No,
Yeah,
not launched yet. No,
not
not yet.
launched yet.
It will. What's the fear? Yeah. There is small
Okay,
fears,
what's
and
the fear?
so it was supposed to be a play on what the fuck, and
It's a catchy name. See, I caught it. You know, like, what's the fear? I like the podcast name.
no, yeah, it is the what's the fear, and because okay, so I think when we were discussing, we were just discussing about Samuel spoke about why he is not moving forward to promote himself. Correct, Samuel? Correct me if I'm wrong. And Rebecca had
You're muted, Sam. And sorry, Scott, by the way, you have your hand up. It's yeah, sorry.
And Rebecca has an interesting business, but I think she needs to be out there. She said she benefits from being in such sessions, networking sessions. So she needs to get out there. So I think, and we were just discussing that, but because given the fact that I come from a background where it's all about promoting yourself, and I think one of the, and I'll just give an example. It's a very, very worked with so many clients. Okay. And I'll tell you one thing, the difference between the one client who was very good and got much more than he or she deserved than the others who deserved a lot but did not get it is because that one client was very clear. Okay. There was no fear of going out and speaking to people. There was no fear of promoting himself. There was no fear of appearing to be over promoting, or in this context, I just read something and I actually put it out, and it's for everyone here. It's very interesting because it is by Edelman. Okay, the world's largest public relations agency, independent public relations agency, and they come out with something called the Trust Barometer report every year. And you should go to their website, and the way they describe themselves, okay, they might be the world's biggest PR agency, but still you have to see the way they describe themselves, okay? And that is that the global authority on trust, okay? So the point is that they are the largest because they have the nerve to say that they are the global authority on trust. On what basis? Okay, so I think the point is that I agree, we play small, not because out of some fear that we have, and it's for each one of us to decide what is that fear and how are we going to overcome that.
Thank you, Hemant. And Scott, please.
Yeah, Joanna and Carl and I were in our group, and we had an interesting kind of 360 conversation around playing small in the self-faith part, and how you have to incorporate the mental, the spiritual path, the mental path, the spiritual path, and the physical path, and understanding kind of your roots, where fear is caused from maybe childhood or belief systems, and understanding also the timing of whether or not this is the right timing to take certain risks or not, and making sure we're looking at the capital S self in our process when we consider ourselves trying to step out of our comfort zone. And sometimes we don't. We get very linear and intellectual about things. And opening that up to that vision, that holistic vision, is really important. That's kind of a summary. And Joanna and Carl, step in if I've missed anything or misquoted us.
You didn't, but I would love to add something that we didn't discuss. I did mention quickly, some of you know, I've been training in family constellation for over a year. And I want to share that because I think it's relevant. very often part of our fear are uncovered, and it's loyalty to the system. So stepping out and being as successful as we may want to be could be held simply by other generations that couldn't, that didn't have the chance, and by loyalty, we stay in the same area, the same spot.
Yes, and to your point, Joanna, about generations, there's a Generation Jones, which is the people that are born in 1954 to 1965, which we were lumped into the baby boomer generation. So our thought process and behaviors are from what they thought at 65 you retire and this, that, and the other. But in actuality, we're practical idealists. And so, especially for women, those traditional roles of you do this or you do that, or you don't do this, or you move here, move there, those are things that take time and years and decisions to not yield to what we were told and what we were taught, but to really go with our heart and our intuition. And that takes courage, and it is a risk because you lose relationships, you lose family, you lose all of the things that you held dear to yourself. Now all you walk away from that and you walk into who you really are. And then you really walk into the fullness of abundance. Life changes and the relationships change and it gets better, but it's a risk. And some people can move quicker in it and some people choose not to. So I really like your perspective on how you explain that.
Thank you. And if I may add, as a coach, I was asked recently by another coach, what was recurrent in my coaching session. And I think it's a very simple thing that I can name here, that we need to take risk, that we need to be successful, is giving permission to ourselves.
Absolutely. Because strategy doesn't work unless you go for it, And as women, we were taught and socialized asking for permission, but men are free to do anything they want. Well, in the way that we were socialized. I'm not saying you do or you don't, but I'm just going back to your point about that permission piece with women is a real barrier for us to just break out and just be ourselves.
Interesting. So, Joanna, were you able to identify an area where you think you're playing small?
Me? I know what you're asking, but if you want the answer I gave, I said I was playing small from A to Z at the moment. And I know it.
Say so.
I'm sorry?
What makes you say so? Like, why from A to Z?
Because of the job I took, how I managed the job, how the context is, and I'm playing small. I'm not trying to do anything to change it. I had personal circumstances that made me want to do that, and that's what Scott mentioned about timing. There are moments in life where timing is important. Now I passed that timing, so I resolved my personal things. I've healed, and it's time for me to not play small anymore. I want to do it a little more consciously than I've been doing when I was younger. I've taken a lot of risk. I've changed my career 4 times. I lived in 9 cities. I've done a lot of things that, I'm proud of myself for doing it. And it came down to self-faith, and I still have it. But as an older person, I want to be wiser, and I want to use some of my knowledge to do it more consciously on how I am going to come back and who I'm going to be. And that's part of many other conversations we've had in the past and we can have in the future. But the short answer is I am playing small all along at the moment.
Thank you, Joanna. I just want to say welcome, Edith, Lynn. We have 18 minutes to go, but it's okay. You can join. We were discussing basically areas in our lives where we are playing small. Do you want to share a little bit, or do you want to have a little bit more time to think about it? Can you already identify the areas? Like for most of us, I think it has to do with visibility, like Hemant mentioned, something about being vocal in our fields of expertise. And yeah, Alfredo, let's hear from you.
Yes, I guess it depends more on self-consciousness. because many people who do not take risk are not even aware they are not taking the risk. We are talking here, Paula was mentioning about meta paradigms, the unconscious belief we go through. And there are a lot of them there. And the more self-conscious you are, probably the least adverse you will be to taking risk. And you need a strategic planning for that. Also, you need your rational part. And Joanna is talking about. I am consciously deciding on not taking risks at this moment in time, and that's legitimate in that sense. So it's not taking risks for the sake of taking risks. It's being conscious and taking decisions about that. If you do not take the risk, you know why you are not taking it in that sense. And I guess the vast majority goes by unconsciously.
Thank you for sharing, Sam. Thank you for your message. It's all right. Scott, did you want to share? No? Okay, I got a message from an unknown person in the group that you wanted to speak, but all right.
That was me. I thought you had your hand up, Scott. Sorry.
Okay, so I'm not distracted, which is a good sign. All right. So
My bad.
no, that's all right. That's all right. So I suggest we get into the next breakout room, whether you want to take a risk or not. Maybe like Alfredo mentioned, he's conscious about his current choice. But maybe you can help other people think of a potential risk they can take, but make it really concrete, like within the next 30 days or so, something that would help them step out of their comfort zone and take action rather than, like being philosophical about it, but actually really take action, step out of your comfort zone. Just as a reminder, in a month's time, it's going to be the last session at ExpertEase because we're taking the month of August off. So we want to end, this summer season on a good foot so that we all come back in September with the right energy, with the right action to grow together as a community. So the question will be, design one concrete risk that you could take in the next 30 days. And Alfredo, your risk is actually not taking any risks at the moment. So I'm answering for you. But let's get into the room. So we'll have 10 minutes and then 5 minutes to debrief. Let's go. All right.
We needed more time.
We needed more time. I know. Yeah. Before you guys get to share, I just want to put down in the chat a link where you can share with us your comments, suggestions to improve these weekly sessions. It's anonymous unless you want to put your name down there, but it will definitely help us really grow the community, but also bring topics to you that sort of like would help definitely your career and your business. And the second thing that I wanted to mention very briefly, on the 9th of July, we are organizing the first kind of its event. It's going to be with, this time, because it's the first edition, it's going to be with Alfredo, with Paula, Sunny, and Hanan. It's a new type of event geared more toward clients. So they will go into breakout rooms. Each of the experts will actually group coach. So if you guys are available, I can send you more details about that. You can join, you can help. You can also share with your contacts, invite friends. So it's a really different format. And I'll share more information about it in the next few weeks. All right. Who'd like to share? And by the way, Brian, we're leaving in 3 minutes. So yeah, it's going to be, it's
Well,
Jensen.
I'm a first timer. It was a pleasure meeting everybody. I got great tips and I look forward to staying connected.
Thank you. We do this every Wednesday, same link, same time. So you're welcome to join us anytime. Who'd like to share?
I actually forgot the question because we had such good conversation about
Oh, the
things.
question is, what's the one risk that you guys are gonna take
Oh,
over the
yes,
next
good.
30 days?
No, well, Rebecca and myself were together, the only two of us. I'm already taking risks this month because I'm revamping my business and repositioning and changing my communication. In the sense, and I've been doing that for the last 5 weeks.
Good, thank you.
In my
Good
case,
job.
I share with I was with Hemant Bora, Lito Thomas, and Carl and Devet, and I was sharing my risk point, and I was quite didn't know if it's a good decision or not. I was saying that by the month of July, I will start etiquette training with some ministry, but it will be etiquette for children and teenagers. It will be two groups. So actually, the training will be free. And so I was wondering if I start free training with them, and it's a ministry who is able normally to pay. They maybe when the time come really to pay or to really value more my training, maybe they could hesitate, or I can lose the value of my job as a business etiquette consultant. But we exchanged, and they told me that actually it was a good point, because I noticed that I was new. This is my second year in this. I'm consultant since long time, but specifically for etiquette, business etiquette and protocol, I'm new. And they were saying it's a good position. It will position me, and so the risk is valuable to me. So this is what we exchange.
Okay, thank you, Edith.
Welcome.
Anyone else? Rebecca, Scott, Paula, you're leaving. See you next time.
Quickly.
Yeah.
I will start the process of changing my name.
Okay.
And the risk is it's not my maiden name. I just came up with my own name. So it is, changing a lot of things in my identity.
Identity. Okay. Well, can we get you on the weekly session before the end of July or not?
Me?
Yeah.
I'll get
Everyone,
back to
can you
you.
guys help me get Joanna to facilitate one of the sessions before the end of July? She's been thinking about it for a while, so I think it's gotten way too much.
How should we call you from now on?
The non-risk taker.
Oh, is that your new
name?
But I'm curious, why will you like to change your name? I'm curious. What is the name you are using now? Is it your business name or what? And why you want to change your name?
So I divorced last year, so I don't want to keep my ex-spouse name, and I don't want to take my maiden name back because I want to choose who I am becoming. And while I went through my family tree doing family constellation, I ended up seeing the name of my great-great-grandmothers, which is absolutely amazing. Her last name was Good Life, and I decided my last name was going to be Good Life.
Wow.
Oh, good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Grace, Good Life.
And I'm changing my middle name for Grace, yes.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so I hope you guys got something out of today's session. Definitely take a minute to just respond to that feedback form. If you can, that would be lovely. And yeah, let's stay in touch, and I'll see you next Wednesday. All right, have a good one. Bye.
Bye, Safaa.
Bye.